Welcome to the Untangled Knitting Podcast. Hi folks! Well, I'm Lily and this is the Untangled Knitting Podcast. If you're new, welcome. I am an art curator at a gallery in San Francisco, and I live with my 5-year-old daughter, 2-year-old son, and very hilarious husband in Oakland, California. This is a video podcast about knitting, about overcoming or recovering from perfectionism, and about the freedom that can come from creativity. If you're a returning viewer, welcome back. I am filming in the evening, which I've never done before, but I really wanted to jump on and share tonight because I wanted to say thank you for everybody's feedback to my last video and to show some kind of exciting, at least to me, progress and to talk about some things that are coming up. So this is, colors are not probably going to be fabulous. I have all the lights on, kind of blazing. I did change location, so if you're used to seeing me, you're probably used to seeing me in a white kind of wingback chair. But I have moved over because I thought with the lighting not being as great, it probably wouldn't be very cool just to have like a blank whitish wall that might kind of look weird. So I just kind of scooted on over to the other side of my knitting nook. And this will not be a stash tour, but this is my stash. And yeah, just kind of thought it'd be a fun little change of pace backdrop. I will call out though and say that these are plastic dividers. I try really hard not to purchase single-use plastic, but these plastic dividers have been really helpful for me in terms of just like knowing where things are and keeping things separated. Yeah. Oh, I should say also, I always link the patterns, designers, and yarn types in the description box below. And there's also links there to where you can find me on Instagram. I'm Lily_Untangled there. And we have a lot of fun looking at knitting things there and talking about knitting things and DMing heart emoji eyes at everything everybody makes. And I am also on Ravelry-ish, not really, and kind of sorry about that, and I should get on it. But, I really see Instagram as where I keep a lot of that information, and then I have a little notebook, and then the Untangled app that I was working on, I think I'm going to end up just making public, and people can kind of build in public on it and use it however they want. So sorry, I'm rambling now. If you don't know what that is, you can go watch some of my earlier episodes and I'll do a full kind of recap about where that is probably early this fall. And I guess we should get into it. I am wearing the Metamorphic Sweater by Andrea Mowry. It is knit in Spincycles, dyed in the wool. They're color changing, hand spun-esque yarn, and dyed in the wool's metamorphic base, which is a recycled merino and spare yarn from Spincycle, which is a marl in the color blue gray. And yeah, this was a finished object recently and I didn't have photos of it. I'm just wearing it with some leggings because I just put my kids to bed, and yeah, I'm just hanging out, talking to the internet about my knitting on a hot Friday night. That's cooled off significantly because I'm in the Bay Area and that's what it does. Cold at night in August. So that's what I'm wearing. I technically don't have fully finished garments, but it's still gonna be worth it. Like, stick around. This is gonna be fun. So the first thing I want to talk about is my sunset in Oakland or sunsets in Brooklyn, Lento. For anyone who was helping me decide what to cast on next, lots of folks knew what I wanted in my heart, which was a Lento sweater in Wandering Flock, made for me. And that's what I did. I'm very excited about it. It's in also this really beautiful project bag from Ritual Dyes, which I kind of embarrassingly forgot that I ordered. I'll talk about it in acquisitions, but this is their Summer Solstice bag, which you had to pre-order quite a bit ago. And I love these colors, and I was so excited about it. I love the way that they do all of their graphic design. These like custom graphic designed hands are just so pretty. And this is a really great size project bag for a sweater on the go. So I'm glad I have it, especially because it matches my Lento. Look at that. I mean, like, these had to live together. It was meant to be. It's a little smushed because it was in there, but look at this. Ta-da! Lovely. Okay, beautiful bag. You can go back to your home. This is the Lento sweater, which is from the Lane. I hear it differently. I'm sorry. I apologize. I don't know how to say it. Magazine is where it originally was published, but it's by Jonna Hietala, I think you pronounce her name. And I knit this in the Wandering Flocks DK in the colors Steel Blue, Dusty Rose, and Navy. And I held I'm holding, because I haven't finished it yet. Yes, I have to do sleeves, I'm aware, but they're so quick, because this whole project is really about like instant gratification. It just brings me joy. So I knit it in those colors, but what I did is, and I know you can see something's going amiss with my folded over collar. I'll talk about that later too. Anyway, but what was I saying? Oh yeah, so I held the mohairs for each corresponding yarn, but I also added in the Sunsets in Brooklyn skein of mohair, and I will insert a photo of what it looks like in the skein. Here it is caked up, but it's hard to tell all together. This just looks like a really beautiful purple, but actually it's sectioned with very light pinks, which is blowing out. I knew this was going to be really hard to do. And dark-ish blues. There you can see it's a little bit bluer. So depending on where you are with this, it, really shifts and changes the colors of the sweater. And we get some really nice marling, flecks in the navy. And then what I think happens with having that second strand of mohair that kind of connects them all together is that it softens the breaks for the stripes. But I do really love this little raglan moment for each of these stripes. And yeah, it's just 3 stripes, 9 rows in the big blocks and 3 in the little blocks. So it's just 9, 3, 9, 3. I did the same thing I did in my Lento for Yam, my kind of Cheaters Rainbow Lento that I talked about last time. Please go check that out if you're interested, where I knit part of the collar in one color for mine and then folded it over. So it's actually all pink on the inside, but it gives you that nice little moment here. What I did do, and I totally didn't see until I'd finished the body, was at one point, and I think I can even find it, it's like right here, I like jumped a stitch when I was knitting down the collar. So that's why these are like looking a little slant. Can you see that? It's not great. It's not great. I'm not proud of it. But I also know that I'm putting elastic in, and I did a kind of test of the elastic running through, and I was able to get it to line up actually quite nicely. So I think that I can fix it, and those will go straight with the elastic wound in. And if they list a bit, is that listing? No, I think that's gonna be fine. I might just go with it, because I think at this point to unpick it would be really very challenging. And I do think that putting the elastic through will really help. So anyway, I do adore this. I can't not wait to just knock out these sleeves, which I'm gonna make like really kind of long, and like they're gonna have a really long cuff, I think. And I'm just gonna let it kind of hang over. The body is a bit cropped, but not too aggressively. But I like the idea of having a fairly short body and then these like long, giant floppy sleeves. Yeah, and I think this is gonna just be so much fun to wear and out and about when it starts to get a little bit chilly. And yeah, I want to say thank you too to the folks at Wandering Flock. I really was inspired. Like the colors are what inspired this piece and inspired Yam's piece as well. I think it's such a great marriage of design and yarn, and I really do think it's one of those things that, like, not that I was blocked, but like unblocked or opened up my ability to kind of find something that I really loved and that would fit and with kind of my vision. But really that's what we're doing, right? We're like imagining something that doesn't exist yet and then making it, and then it becomes a real thing. And it doesn't matter if you're using like the exact same yarn as the designer and like you're knitting it in the same size or whatever. It's still completely and utterly your object. I mean, that's what we're getting at here. And I think that's why I find this craft so rewarding and so uplifting, is that it is this ability to create something in reality which didn't exist before, that you made in this combination of time and materials and imagination. So you put those three things together, and I really feel like the colors are what kind of drove this project, and the textures, and yeah, I'm just really, really happy with it. It was super satisfying to make, and I'm just gonna show you guys. Let's see if I can get this to show up. Yeah, okay, so see how there's that like dark blue fleck from the Sunsets in Brooklyn mohair there? And then the very next stitch down below, the next row in the navy, it's pink. So it looks almost like a white core there, but it's actually like a really nice dusty pink. Anyway, this really makes me happy. I love this. It was so fun to make. And yeah, I'm just like totally pleased with the whole thing. Next up is Anne's puff sleeves, which is my test knit for Aimee Shearer. I was so excited about kind of, again, like the idea of this piece, but unlike the Lento, where it was like, okay, I know exactly what I want to do. I have this idea, and now I'm going to go see if I can make the thing that I imagined in my head a reality. This is kind of like the opposite of that, where I had a thought about, okay, this is the object I'm making, and I had a kind of idea vaguely, basically in my mind, but I'm making something else, which sounds crazy, but it's all approved by Aimee. I swear. I would never I'm too much of a rule follower. I would never break the rules on a test. But I tried on my Anne's puff sleeves when I finished the body, hadn't done the sleeves yet, and I also hadn't picked up to do the neck where you're supposed to have this 2x2 ribbing. I had basted my sleeves. Look at my poof. It's so cute. It's so cute. I love it so much. Okay, so I had basted my poof. I tried it on the body, and there's a Slack channel for all the kind of conversations about the test, and different testers, you know, run things differently. And I guess I should say, if this is your first time watching this knitting podcast or any knitting podcast, a test knit is when a designer has written a pattern, most of the time has already kind of had a tech editor or someone kind of go through and do most of the math over to make sure that the kind of general instructions should result in a garment that is at the gauge, and stitch numbers are all kind of listed correctly. And then the tester, or the designer rather, requests testers who are volunteers who knit the piece and give feedback. And one of the things that I love about it is that it does engender a real sense of community, which I think is really inspiring. And I've learned so much. I love to test because it's how I feel like I have learned so much, and I've been able to kind of level up in different skills. And it really sets me up, I feel like, to feel like I can make a contribution too. I really do enjoy that part of it also. Anyway, so that's the Testnet. And the great thing, you know, I think it's twofold, right? The designers are able to get their pattern, you know, from the technical side, get input, double check everything. You know, are the instructions clear? In addition to the kind of math working out right for all sizes, is the is the cadence or the kind of even grammar of the pattern easy to understand? Is there a flow to it? Is there a need for a tutorial? Something like that. That's all really important feedback. But the other thing that I think is really important about testing too is that it creates a group of objects that already exist in multiple sizes with multiple different kinds of yarn. And that's a built-in way for, you know, pattern seekers who might want to purchase the pattern to find out more about the work before they've even made that purchase. So instead of there just being one sample that the designer has made, or, you know, that they've commissioned a sample knit for, instead you're able to see these pieces on lots of different kinds of bodies, knit in lots of different kinds of yarn. And I think that's just invaluable. I really think for the designer, but also for the knitting community, like the more the merrier, and the more that folks see these pieces from different designers on different knitters, the better. And so I'm just a huge fan of it as a practice. It's not something that I want to be an exclusive part of my knitting practice. Obviously, for something like the Lento project, that was really important for me to feel like I had this kind of very simple pattern, but had a chance to really play with color and play with texture and move forward in that way. And yeah, anyway, so it's just a really kind of fun way of engaging. If you're interested in test knitting, I think it's a great thing to make sure you're following the designers that you enjoy on Instagram, but also to subscribe to their newsletters, because newsletters, I think, are a really great way to engage with designers on a more kind of, you know, they've created that space for communication, and to have another space for their vision, which they own completely, so that it's not just who happens to see it, right? Everyone they send an email to gets that email, you know, obviously whether they go to their promotions tab or their, you know, you move it into your inbox or whatever you do with your own email hygiene, whatever works for you. But I do think that if you're interested in test knitting, a lot of designers do send out notices to their newsletter lists. Okay, so back to Anne's puff sleeves. I as I was saying, I tried it on without having done the sleeves, and I went to the Testnet Slack channel and I said, you guys, I'm very tempted. I love this as a short sleeve. And Aimee like immediately chimed in and she said that she was tempted to actually have that as an option, but that it would make the pattern obviously like twice as long and with a lot more, she didn't say this, but this is my editorializing. Obviously that would just be a completely different pattern. She did also mention too that a DK weight sweater, which is what this is probably not super appropriate for most people as a short sleeve. I think in the bay it could be great. I mean, I'm gonna definitely be wearing this in September. And so she told me I could go for it. I'm really excited. The other modification though that I needed to do, in addition to just not knitting the rest of the sleeve, is because I will be doing a fairly tighter bind off. I'll end the sleeve, not where I am now, but just like maybe 2 or 3 more rows, and then doing a rather tighter bind off to create a more enhanced, exaggerated poof to the poof. But I also had to put a different neckline on the piece because in the original design, it's quite like this 2x2 rib, but it comes up in a funnel. There are short rows that raise up the back of the sweater to create, you know, obviously, and we'll go over this a ton when we talk to Jen. I'll have more updates about that later, but one of the kind of most important things and the reason we do neck shaping is that your neck isn't one, it has 2 levels, right? My neck goes down to here. Oh, you can see my like very nice white t-shirt. But it goes, it's here and here. Look at where my, you know, my trapezoids end here. That's a big difference. So when you're raising up the back of your sweater, what you're doing is trying to accommodate the fact that your neck has 2 lengths. You have your front of your neck length and the back of your neck length. It's not really about your, you know, the neckline isn't about your shoulders, right? So I think that for me has been very helpful just to kind of get a greater understanding of. So there are short rows that do raise the back of the sweater in order to accommodate the fact that everybody's neck ends shorter in the back. And the rest of the sweater is knit as a funnel neck. It's very beautiful. I really, really encourage you guys to check out Aimee's Instagram and keep on the lookout for this pattern. I think it's also the thing about these poof sleeves, they're so like of the moment and super stylish. And when I am gonna re-knit this, I think. I'm gonna knit it at a longer length also. So I'm already planning my second Anne's puff sleeve. And I have, I think, just the yarn for it. I'm very excited about it. Anyway, I'm going to say that I did an I-cord bind off first. And what you do is to create this poof, and I won't be giving away, you know, the store here when I talk about it, you create the poof at the same time that you are picking up stitches to make the collar. So I went off book and discussed with Aimee as well that what I was going to do is an I-cord bind off. But when I did the I-cord bind off, which I thought I was going to need, sorry, you can see my little ends obviously not woven in here in the back, but when I knew I wanted something that was going to be really sturdy that would hold up the weight of the sweater, because again, it's a DK weight sweater. It's like not a small fry. So I thought I wanted to do an I-cord, but it was so tight and kind of tough. And so I just ended up doing a Jenny's surprisingly stretchy bind off, and it's fabulous. It's really secure. I don't feel like this is gonna fray. I don't think that anything's going anywhere. It's not gonna sag. It's really secure, really, but it looks good. I was really surprised. And I feel like I'm really kind of over the tubular bind off. Like I'm kind of done. It to me, the edges are that kind of, people say it like rolls, and it can, but it also sometimes just looks very jagged to me, and I really like this very smooth edge. And I did it on the ribbing too for this 2x2 rib, and I think it looks so nice and smooth and finished. I don't think this looks unfinished at all. I like having a set line on my sweater hems, I have determined, which will also come in back into discussion in just a bit. So yes, this is Anne's Puff Sleeves, Testnet for Aimee sheer. Not done with the arms. Look at those, right? There's this lace detail on the raglan, which is gonna open up beautifully, but you can see how like exacting it is, but it's so easy. Like I am shocked. She really figured something out. This looks like, I think it looks really good, but it also looks quite fancy, but I think it'll look great with jeans, and I'm just really excited about it. So yeah, my Anne's Puff Sleeves is nearly final. That's one of the, when I worked at SF MoMA, one of the things that we used in when we worked with publications was the phrase nearly final. So there's, unfortunately, sometimes there was nearly final version 1, nearly final version 2, but truly, this is nearly final. It's almost there. So, and the Lento's almost there too. Like this is a day, Lento's like a day. So that just feels fabulous. It feels really, really good. And the next thing to talk about, which I'll talk about for like an entire episode soon, so don't worry about it. I won't go too crazy here, is my great gingham. Ta-da! And mine is very cropped. And I think it's gonna be super cute. So I attached the arms. You can see how, oh, sorry, my notes just fell down. You can see how the raglan creates a really pretty little mirror on either side, and it's going swimmingly. I'm doing my decreases according to this fabulous worksheet from Jen of JP Knits Things. We were supposed to speak last week. Unfortunately, we couldn't because of noise levels in different locations. It just didn't happen. So we're speaking on Monday. That's going to be a recorded Zoom call about Jen's amazing bottom up neck shaping worksheet, which is free and available. She's also released this beautiful, like, talk about transitional piece, this super romantic, beautiful, short sleeved button-up sweater. It's so pretty, and the drape on it, I just watched all the testers finished object photos come out yesterday, and it's so good looking. So it's called the Gone to Seed Tee, I think. Gone to Seed. Beautiful piece. So definitely check that out. But in any case, she also has this free, available on her website, worksheet where she basically lays out how to do the math to create your own neck shaping, which was frankly a reason I wasn't sure I wanted to knit the Great Gingham Raglan. I had already started it, and then I saw a lot of, frankly, like feedback that it just wasn't working for people around the neckline. So I'm just really excited about it, and that I'm gonna get what I want. And like I said, it is very cropped. I will probably block it down a bit, but I'm also kind of going with a little, it feels very Cher from Clueless to me. That's the vibe I'm getting with this. And I know my colors are just not great in this light. I'm so sorry. But this does look really good, I promise. It looks really great. So, and this is knit in Spincycle, dyed in the wool, and the colorway is Cold Comfort, and it transitions from a kind of minty green to a very pale, kind of baby pink. And I've paired it with the Sport Weight Camellia Fiber Company in the color Chicory. And I really like it. I think it's looking really nice. This is going to be a great fall piece. I just think I'm going to wear it all the time. So we'll talk about more and more about that later. Again, feels nearly final. Like that's the catchphrase for this up, is like everything is kind of almost there. Sorry, I'm going to take a sip of water. You might hear I have a little, I wouldn't say a cold, but just like something from my kids' preschool, you know, such a delight. Excuse me, so thank you. And then, what can I say? I shock myself. You all really got me here though, 100%. Longtime viewers will recall the epic quest that is my stria cardigan. And look, I have a body. And last time we spoke, I had split-ish for sleeves after really almost giving up multiple times on this piece. And then I started knitting more. And then I had like a major crisis of conscience. I posted this on Instagram, so if you follow me there, you already saw it. I wasn't sure this was like even worth finishing for a hot second. I, just couldn't stop looking at the mistakes, the Raglan mistakes that I had made, which you can see here. I was super frustrated with how the colors had kind of landed. I hadn't really thought out the fact that the whitest part of the yoke was going to be the colors that I don't really wear that much and don't enjoy as much, which are the oranges and yellows. I didn't really I was just really not sure about it. And everyone was so kind. So thank you so much. The feedback really did help me feel like it was worth finishing, and also that like I could do it, And I'm so glad I did, because what I discovered is that the part I love most about this sweater is this gray. I am obsessed with this gray. And what I decided to do was use that as a focal point in the ribbing. I extended the ribbing. It's only supposed to be, I think, 1.5 inches, and I did 2.5 inches. So I extended the ribbing down here. And then when I picked up for the collar, I used the gray to do small stripes there along the collar. And I'm going to do the same thing here. So for the sleeves, I'm going to run out the repeat all the way and then do gray and white stripes for the cuffs. And it'll be a third type of gray and white striping. So we'll have, this is a 3, 2, 3, 2, 3. This is 3, 1, 3, 1, 3. And then I'll do a third combination at the cuffs. That'll probably be about here after I run through this gradient one more time. So I'm super, super happy that this is going to be a finished object. I do think I'm going to wear it a lot. I think it's going to feel a lot better on. I think, first of all, the fabric is so nice. I'm just so glad I made all of this fabric. And I also had a big realization today as I was finishing off the collar, which was really my reason that I wanted to film, even though it's dark outside and I don't know, it's a hot Friday night in Oakland again. talking about knitting. And so, sorry, real tangential today. Excuse my wandering. But I realized that it was okay that this isn't the sweater I would make today if I were going to cast this on again. I'm a really different knitter than I was when I cast this on. I cast this on almost a year ago in November of 2021. When it first came out, it was the first pattern that was like a new release pattern that I jumped on board with, and I thought, oh, I'm going to do this. This looks great. And I knew how to do the stitch. It was, you know, this is half Fisherman's rib striped, and I had done my KONITS cardigan, also half Fisherman's rib. This is though a fingering weight knit on size 2 needles, and my half Fisherman's rib is a worsted weight, which I think I knit on size like 7 or 8. So it's a really different garment and took a different kind of concentration. The other one also is the KONITS method. So while it's a raglan, there's a real system to it. This was outside of the KONITS. This was my first raglan, so I was definitely not as versed in it. And I would have made different color choices too. I would absolutely have done probably not the full 10 in the pattern. It's actually a 10 rows. Is that right? Yeah, 10 rows of the white or the background or main color, and then just one of your stripe, or 2 because it's half Fisherman's rib, so you're knitting 2 rows in order to get the one. And so I don't think I would have gone all the way to 10, but I definitely would have done more than just 2 in between each stripe. That was, you know, just totally unnecessary. If you want to see my real moment of shame, look at these ends I have to do. Ooh, so many. It's so many. They're all a little bit woven in because I do hold them. Whenever I change colors for stripes, I hold something behind and then knit just like I would if I was catching a float in color work. So that does take off some of the more intricate weaving in that I would have to do. But I mean, there's still a ton of stuff to weave in and then clip away. And yeah, that's a problem for future Lily. That's future Lily's situation. So yeah, I would do it differently if I was going to do it again, but I'm so glad I did it. And I'm so happy with this knit. Like I said, I really think I'm going to get a ton of use out of it. The colors are so joyful, and I love that it's in sea change fibers. If I realize I didn't say before, this is Sea Cliff Fingering from Sea Change Fibers, which is a local to me hand dye studio in Santa Cruz, California. And it's run by the wonderful Sarah, who is a color genius and a really wonderful steward of our earth. She really takes care of materials, and this is 100% California grown Rambouillet wool, and it is toothy, perfect for color work, but and non-super wash. It's just it's a dream. It feels so good. It's still my desert island yarn. If I could, I would knit probably everything in this wool. It's just that good. It really is just that good, and I hope you believe me. In fact, I think Sarah will be at Woolen Folk. So if you are going to be in Rhinebeck, upstate New York in the Hudson Valley for the Sheep and Wool Festival this fall, please do check her out, and we can talk more about Rhinebeck planning a little later. So is that it? Is that all my whips? Yes. Okay. So that's four nearly final sweaters. This is gonna just hibernate for a bit. I don't feel a huge amount of rush to do the sleeves. but I also know that I can like really focus and get one whole sleeve done, and then that'll feel really good, and then go to the next sleeve, really focus and get that done. So when I'm feeling ready to do that, I will, and I know that I will get this done and it's going to feel great. But I don't have a real sense of like, you know, get on it with this, because it has been a long-term project, and that's okay. It's totally okay to have a long-term project. And the other thing, you know, that Jen has been talking a lot about on her Instagram channel is this idea of slow knitting, and that being purposeful with our time is more important and significant than, you know, it's a quality over quantity issue. And I do think I can get sucked into this idea that I have to kind of be productive, and that's not what this craft for me is about. And I think that it's a really helpful reframe to kind of think through, okay, good, I want to have this sense of accomplishment, right? I want to have a vision, accomplish something, have a thing that I've made be in the world, absolutely. But I also don't need to produce just for production's sake. And I really find that conversation super helpful and inviting, and it brings more people to the table when you let go of that sense of like, yeah, kind of production line of knitting. And that's another reason I don't think that I'm interested in doing exclusively Testnets, because I really want to be able to have a larger sense of freedom. Though again, with Aimee's Testnet, I mean, she really was like, do it short sleeve, do it a different neckline, let's see what happens. And you know, the people that I've been able to interact with through this craft have been so incredibly uplifting, and yeah, I'm so delighted. It really is very special. So we'll have a lot to talk about with Jen. That'll be really, really fun. All right, what is next? What was I going to talk about next? Sorry, I am looking at my notes. And I'm wearing my earpods again. Okay, again, tangent. I apologize, but I don't understand how to set up my microphone. I know I've mentioned this before, but it's like a nice microphone, and I have no idea how it works. Like zero idea how it works. I've read the instructions, I've gone online, I've followed tutorials. I am not a hardware person. I do not understand. I am still just putting in my earbuds so that you don't hopefully hear as much. Though it's a pretty quiet night here. If anything, you'll just hear my little guy. No, he's fast asleep. And I guess I was talking about, what I was going to talk about next. Sorry. Yeah, this is a really rambly episode, y'all. But I'm going to talk about knit-alongs because, as we discussed, okay, 4 nearly final pieces. So excited. So excited. And the end of August. End of August. Fall's just out there beckoning us. And so I am actually going to do 2 fall to winter knit-alongs. And I thought it would be really fun to just talk about what a knit-along is, knit-alongs I've done, and my plans for these 2 events. So first of all, a knit-along or a KAL, K-A-L, is, or a MAL, M-A-L, make-along, is a usually online or in-person convening of knitters who all decide to make the same garment or use the same yarn or in some way have a collective form of making. And my first knit along, I realized, was actually the first sweater that I ever made, the Festive Doodle. It was not online. It was all done through this shop in my hometown, which doesn't exist anymore, very, very sadly. It was called Cattywampus Crafts. It was in Ojai, California. And it was my mom's idea. I had never knit a sweater before. She knew I knit. And she said, I really want to knit a sweater. And I said, great, sounds fun. And we went to the store in person, and were we in person? Yeah, and I picked up my yarn, which was Sea Change Fibers fingering yarn. And then I did, I did my first swatch, and there were Zoom, so this is during peak pandemic. And we all did these like Zoom meetups, and I only got to do a couple. Most folks who did them were all based in Ojai or in Southern California. But I did call in on a couple of them, and did I ever have any like questions? There was a leader, and she is an amazing knitter named Jody, who worked at the shop and did like knit help at the shop. And it was really chill. I definitely needed the KAL to like start the project, but I don't feel like I used it as much as a resource during the project. My memories of making that were really, also just given the time we were in, it was a very insular moment for me personally, and making that sweater was really like kind of just my time. And it was really fun though. It was really great. I'm glad I did it. It really is what kind of helped set me on this journey. And I finished, and it was wonderful. My second knit along was the Knit Collage knit along, and that was last fall. And that also propelled me in a whole new direction with the craft, because it was all online and it was super programmed, like out to the hilt. There were always Zooms, there were meetups for people doing different patterns. You voted on which pattern you wanted. It is super, super involved. They're doing another fall knit along. I strongly encourage anyone who's never done one before, who loves those patterns, to jump on board. It was wonderful. It was so fulfilling. It really felt like I was on a team. I had an accountability group. I learned how to steek. I mean, it was so much fun. And that's when I did the Mountain Magic cardigan. It was just wonderful. Yeah, really, really, really great experience. And I loved it. And that was exactly a year ago, basically. Yeah. I think that they're getting ready to do the fall one next too. So I'm not sure I'm going to be doing that one, because I have these two other projects that I'm planning, but we'll see, because they knit up so fast. And I still really want to do my kaleidoscope cardi. Yeah, with all my knit collages down here. I don't know if you can see it, probably not. Below my Nutidin. Anyway, so those are my two I think very successful, super fun knit along experiences. I also did the Knit Collage Spring knit along, which was not so successful. I picked a pattern because I wanted to learn a technique. I was doing the Grow With Me cardi. There's lots of information about it in past episodes you can check out. It's a brioche vest-ish cardigan, short sleeved, but knit in this super heavy, and by super heavy, I mean like super chunky, bulky yarn. I think it goes beyond the categories. And I did learn brioche super well. I'm so glad I did the knit along, but I did not participate as fully. I was working on other knitting projects. I just started this brand new job, and it just wasn't the right time for me. So I was in the Facebook group. I was, loved looking at other people's projects, but it just wasn't the right time or fit for me to do that knit along this spring. And I'm still a little disappointed and bummed out about it, if I'm being super honest. I wish that I had kind of powered through, But at the same time, as I said when I spoke about this last time, I am really glad that I knew that was a garment I wasn't going to wear, and that I acknowledged that, and it's fine that I didn't finish it. So it just wasn't the right fit for me. So that's my failed knit along. Excuse me, I'm just gonna get a sip of water while my notes fall. But this fall, I'm planning to do not one, but 2 knit alongs. Again, these will be my 2 garments for the fall that I'm gonna be focusing on, okay? Nearly final, guys. This pile, nearly final. So close. They are though, genuinely, I swear to God. They're really, really close. So, we shall get there. And the 2 knit-alongs that I am planning to do are the Rhinebeck sweater with Andrea Mowry, which is the Alpenglow sweater, which was recently released as a pattern and is knit in Spincycle yarn, which I have quite a bit of in stash. And I'll just talk about the whole project. Okay, so it's Spincycle yarns, and then the other main color yarn, it's in fact, you know what? I have the, here, sorry. This is it. Ta-da! So this is the Spincycle yarn is in the yoke here, and then it's also in mosaic knitting throughout the body of it and on the sleeves. The main color and this top ribbing section and a little bit of ribbing on the sleeves is a new collaboration between Spincycle and Magpie Fibers. So it's Spincycle's dyed in the wool yarn, but it's not dyed by Spincycle. So they just spin it up undyed, and then it's Magpie Dye Studio that creates the colorways. So I really, really, as you can see, I love Andrea Mowry's yoke sweaters for me. I know some people aren't 100% on board, but they work really well for me. I really enjoy the pattern and the cut. I think they're a good fit on me, and they're super comfortable and easy to wear in with what I wear every day. I also really, really like the pattern on this. And I love mosaic knitting. It's so addictive. I love my shifty. It's a great piece. This seems like a real, knock it out of the park for me. Except, I have to admit, I don't love the way Spincycle yarn feels. It's fine. And in this piece, it's actually wonderful because the Metamorphic yarn is merino and it's really soft and it feels really good. I don't know what it is about the Spincycle. It's not woolly rough, but it's just a little stiff to me. And I think some of that, the more you wash and block, obviously that kind of eases up. But there's a stiffness to it, and I think part of it is the way that it's twisted. And so to me, the idea of doing an main color of more Spincycle yarn just didn't seem as kind of luxurious and fun as I wanted this piece to be. So I went into my stash because I am going to do this, and I have signed up for the knit along, and I have very, very happily chosen my Ghost Ranch dyed in the wool. Love these. Okay, so this one starts off with a kind of olivey green with navy, and then transitions with pinks and teals. And this one, because I always pull from outside the ball. These are kind of messy right now, but I can't do yarn vomit. Not here for it. Always an outside the ball person myself. That's just me. Anyway, plus I feel like it's easier for me to gauge how much I have left without weighing it when I pull from outside the ball. And then this one starts with a navy and pink, but also has as you can kind of see in here. Lots of great greens and like ochres and yellows too. So I'm really stoked about having these. I picked them up when I was at Naughty Lamb. Yeah, Naughty Lamb in during the Rose City Yarn Crawl, because I really thought these were exceptional individual skeins that would go well together. So I'm really happy with these. And then, oh, one section of the sweater I didn't discuss, there's also a fluff area that uses Magpie Fiber's newest base, which is called Plume, which is their luxury fiber. I mean, it's all very luxury, I will say. But this is a cashmere fiber, which I had never worked with before, but I knew I wanted to work with. And I was able to find, they're out of stock on their website, but they did have some at the, what's it called? Black Mountain Yarn Store in North Carolina. So I wasn't sure which color I wanted. So I did get 3, and I will use one to make, the ones I don't use, I will use to do the edge work I thought on hats. Of course, I got this because it's me. This is the Magpie color, and it's a really beautiful steel blue turquoise. I also got this brown, which is super rich. This is the Bad and Bougie color. And then Tactical, which is like a green, which I thought would be so great with this Spincycle, right? Like nailed it, love it. I also in stash had La Bien-Aimée sport weight, because that's the whole, the weight of the sweater is in sport weight, and that's what the dyed in the wool and dyed in the skein is a sport weight yarn. So I have this sport weight La Bien-Aimée Merino Sport in Water Rose, so rosewood. It's very beautiful, and I thought that would pair again really nicely with the Spincycle. And then it comes to the main color, because I knew, first of all, you can't get the dyed in the skein like for love or money right now. It's completely sold out, and they haven't gotten the yarn to even start dyeing it to send it to you yet. So I don't have to feel guilty about, well, not that anyone should ever feel guilty about using different yarn. But I absolutely let that go, like completely. And I do have more La Bien-Aimée. This is the super dark teal that I could do for the main color. The issue though is that it's DK weight. And so what I really have to do is swatch. But I think I'm like 95% sure that this is how I'm gonna do this. Ta-da! Can I hold them all? Yes, if I go like this. Boop. Yeah, I think that would be quite nice. Sorry if I'm looking at the screen. I flipped the screen just so that I'd be able to tell if the lights got really bad. Usually I don't film that way, but I think that would be really nice. I just have to figure out my gauge issues, because I almost every other sweater from Andrea Mowry that I have knit has been really consistent size-wise, and I don't want to mess that up. So I don't know, but I'm really excited about it. So the details for this Alpenglow Rhinebeck knit along is to knit the sweater. So it's a pattern-based knit along, and you can use any kind of yarn you want. There's a Facebook group to interact there. There's a hashtag that you can use on Instagram to tag photos of your work. And then I think they are having prizes, but I don't know what they are. But the thing I'm really excited about is there's going to be a meetup. So if you want, you can wear your sweater, bring your sweater to Rhinebeck and meet up with all the other knitters who also made the sweater. And I just think there's something really sweet about that, and really joyful and community building, and also like really good silliness about it, of like having not a costume, but like, I don't know, a uniform, like being on a team, right? It's this team feeling. And especially as, you know, someone who started a podcast because I wanted to talk so much about knitting and didn't know who else to talk to. So I'm talking to, you know, friends and strangers on the internet. It's really exciting to feel like you're on a team. That can feel really good and is really rewarding. So I'm stoked for that. I think it's going to be great. The other knit along that I'm doing is something I never expected to do. It's the hashtag inspired by Ellen KAL. Again, KAL is for knit along, KAL. And it's being run by two amazing women who just started their own podcast called Knitting a Good Yarn. It's a great podcast. Highly recommend it. They seem super sweet. I've interacted with them on YouTube and on Instagram. They're wonderful and really intentional knitters. They are both huge fans of Nutiden. And I think one of them might knit almost exclusively in Nutiden, it seems. And Nutiden is an unspun yarn from Sweden, which is sometimes categorized as pencil roving. So rather than the fibers being spun together, either worsted or woolen spun, they are laid out flat. And so that's this wonderful shelf over here, which is like quite precarious, I realize. Yeesh. And it's so precarious because I did order more. And I ordered more to support this knit along. It's again called Inspired by Ellen because one of the folks who's very involved with Nutiden production is named Ellen, and she made a really beautiful sweater. I'll again, of course, add all of the links below. That is a colorwork sweater in a almost peacock feather design. And the chart for the sweater, and I think part of the pattern, is free and available. And the inspiration is, or the KAL is really about inspiration. So it's taking this motif and letting folks play with that motif in whatever way they feel called to. So many people are knitting sweaters, some people are knitting hats, some people are knitting gloves, and it's just a really special, I thought really beautiful invitation. So different for sure, but still about that sense of community building, about kind of learning about ourselves as knitters and knowing a little bit more about how we can apply different skills, or in this case, a colorwork motif to a garment. So I would really like to knit it as a raglan sweater, and I would like to do it top down. Right now, the only ones I have seen are bottom up. Excuse me. So I would really like to do it top down. I'm not quite sure how, but I think that Miss Evil Knits is another wonderful podcaster who's also very involved with Nutiden Yarn, and she is going to, I believe, be posting a recipe for a top-down version of the sweater. And again, I'll link to her below. And the official start date is September 1st for that. And I'm really, really excited about participating. So excited, actually, that I would like to do a Nutiden giveaway, because I think there's a lot of folks who have heard about the yarn and are really curious about the yarn and would like to participate in this kind of use of this yarn and the folks who are interested in it. But there's a lot of mystery sometimes about how to get it. In fact, the first time I bought it, I had to basically become a patron and sign up for their Patreon to get it. And I do think that can be kind of a mental barrier for folks. Now that I am a patron, I feel like there's a huge amount of value in what I'm receiving, which is basically an education in animal husbandry. I mean, I genuinely feel like I know so much more about sheep and wool and color and all different kinds of authentic living. And I feel like for me, it's really fed my creative process. So I think it's incredibly valuable. But I do also think that there's a kind of leap there where you're like, well, why? I just want to buy this stuff and use it to make something. Like, what's this all about? So to that end, I am very excited to be offering a sweater's quantity of Untangled yarn. It is in the colorway Tall Bark, which is an incredibly, and I'll again insert a photo because I think in this light especially it would be kind of not do justice to the yarn. Tall Bark is the bark of a redwood or pine tree is the inspiration for it, and it's absolutely beautiful. It is a rusty brown with flecks of gold and silver and deep, deep warmth. It's incredibly warm. I said silver, and there is some gray to it, but it is incredibly warm. And I also think that okay, I'm gonna have to pull it out. I'll just use snow, which is their natural white, because oh no, what, that's gonna be even worse on the camera. Okay, I'll use one of my newbies. Because each color is a different mix of breeds of sheep and dyes, each texture is slightly different. Each yarn's texture is slightly different. So here, let's find the end and give you a little peek at this texture, for example, from the new collection. Here it is. You can see it's pretty strong. It has long staple lengths. It's very, very soft, and has quite a bit of fluff to it, but it's very integrated. Versus one of the I haven't used this yet. I'm very excited to. I think I'm gonna be doing a cardigan at some point in this. This is a deep dark blue with it's kind of cooler, but there are a little bit. This actually isn't terrible. There's greens and golds here too. That's really something. This is very, very delicate. So you can see as it comes off, it's kind of like falling. This has quite a bit more lanolin in it. And yeah, so here, I'll put it up there. It's maybe easier to see, yeah. The tall bark consistency is very easy to work with. I think that you could, especially for a first time Untangled user, which is one of the reasons that I picked that. It is really integrated, but one of the glories of it is there's so many different colors within each strand. So you'll really be able to see that and enjoy that and have that experience. To enter the giveaway, please like, subscribe, and comment below with the hashtag inspired by Ellen KAL. And if you would also please go to the lovely Knitting a Good Yarn podcast and do the same there. I guess over there you'll have to tag me in some way, but I'll do the drawing here. So if you can because they're also doing some giveaways from their stash as well. But I think we'll just have folks come here to comment for this giveaway and just keep it simple. So yes, just comment down below in the comments. Let me know if you're excited about it, of course, but if you use the hashtag inspired by Ellen, then I will enter you into the giveaway. And I'll do it the same way I did for the 1,000 subscribers, where I use an auto generator, and I'll put that all together. And I will also say, while it was our winner last time was from Canada, it was a very easy package to send. I don't think I'll be able to send Nutiden internationally, just because unlike when it's packaged to come to me, they're able to really condense everything. Well, I suppose I could wind some of it for you. No, I'm so sorry. I think we're gonna keep it to Canada and the US, and Mexico, which is very easy to send to too. So we'll just say North America. And if you're not in North America, I apologize profusely, and I really thank you for your support. And if you are curious about Nutiden, I'm happy to kind of give pointers or tips. There's also a great unspun yarn podcast, and I will link that below as well, from RuiKnits from Sharon. And I highly recommend folks watch that if this is something that you're interested in learning more about. So I am going to be making the Inspired by Ellen sweater using the blue and also snow. And I'm not sure which will be my first. This is the snow. It's a very simple white, but I really, really love it. And I'm not sure what will be my contrast color and what will be my main color yet. I haven't swatched for it. It's a longer KAL. I'm really looking forward to just taking my time and enjoying it, using this Evil Knits template / recipe, which is coming out on September 1st. And yeah, I'm just really looking forward to enjoying that process. In terms of other plans for the fall, I mean, those are my two kind of real next steps. I still want to make the stria, and I still want to make a anchor sweater with stripes for my son. But I'm so over stripes, y'all. I really need a stripe break. I mean, this was not as bad, but like, this was a lot of stripe knitting that I did in the last few weeks. Like, I knit all of these stripes. It was a lot of stripes. It was too many stripes. So I'm taking a stripe break. Stripe break for finishing this, finishing my test, and then doing the rest of the Raglan for my great Gingham, and casting on, swatching first. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Sorry, knitting gods. I didn't mean to offend you. But I will be swatching first for my Alpenglow and then casting that on. And if the DK doesn't work, I don't really know what I'm gonna do. But I have options. I have a lot of options. I'll be fine. I'm not too worried. But I'm gonna try to do it from stash. I really, really hope I can do it from stash. And what else? Oh, should we do some acquisitions? I got some cool stuff. I will go quickly because I realize this is actually my longest podcast that I've done so far. Okay, what am I doing? Okay, I got the Petite Knit Project tote bag because I wanted something that was big enough for my Nutiden. Because I like going up and down stairs, but I really couldn't do that with my last Nutrigen project because it takes up a lot of space, and I'm thinking I'm not gonna wind some of it. I think I'm gonna knit some of it straight from the plates. So I really thought this was a great idea. And the main reason I went to Petite Knit was to get the elastic thread, because I went online to search for elastic thread and there were so many options. I was pretty sure I was gonna mess it up, but I knew that if I got the kind that Petite Knit had on the site, that it was gonna be the right kind. And frankly, sometimes, y'all, I would just rather buy one thing and have it be the right thing, even if it's a bit more precious, than, you know, have 5 different things that I then have to return or figure out and handle all that. The other thing that I wanted to get when I was there, I'm not going to show you that because it's just like a spool of elastic thread. It's not exciting. But what they did have, which I was very excited about, were labels that you can put on your needle case. So I guess I've never shown my needle case. I love this needle case. I was influenced to get it too from the Espace Tricot knitting podcast. They mentioned it like as a one-off, and I just immediately went online and bought it. Like I paused. I like paused the pod and went and got it because it's kind of my platonic ideal. It's, first of all, it's indestructible. It is made of leather, and it has, I just use ChiaoGoo interchangeables. That's the only needle I use. I did get some Leica needles and I didn't like them very much. Sorry. It's true. Didn't love them. The labels are in millimeters, but I have found that millimeters actually resonate more for me. It's easier for me to think of actually how big something is than like a random number. So that works out well for me. Then there's 2 little pockets. So I'm not explaining the origami of this. Basically, there's the 2 big flaps. Huzzah! Sorry, I'm not a very good Vanna White Instagram influencer. But there's the 2 big pockets for your needle tips, and then on the side there's these little pockets which have the exact dimensions for storing my shorties. So again, this is like maybe too brand specific, but I love ChiaoGoo shorties, which is how I knit all my sleeves, and sometimes my necklines too, and when I first cast on. So these are the ChiaoGoo shorties, which if you haven't seen, they're really quite fabulous. I have some duplicates because I have some that I did short on one side, long on the other. Sorry, my battery's dying. This is embarrassing. This has gone on too long. All right, I'm rambling. Anyway, this is my needle case. I very much like it. I'm not sure if they still make it at Espace Tricot, but I think it's worth a check. If you, again, I think it would be great if you are a ChiaoGoo brand specific person, because again, it fits those minis really well. And then there's a center pocket, which is where I keep all my wires. And yeah, they all nestle in there. I have them somewhat divided up by length and width, but yeah, it keeps things streamlined for me, and I quite enjoy it. And I do think those labels are really nice, because before I was pulling out everyone and like looking just in the right light to try to read the teeny tiny writing. So yeah, those were my Petite Knit acquisitions. And then the Ritual dies. The Ritual dies was like a surprise. A surprise from my past self. Hi, Lily. Remember me in May or June when you thought, oh, I'm definitely going to be knitting so many summer things in August. I'm definitely going to get the Summer Solstice kit from Ritual Dies. So this came with Ritual Dies Undine. Ta-da! It came with 3 skeins of this, which is their organic cotton linen blend. It is beautiful. I'm very excited about knitting it. I'm saving this for next year. I'm gonna knit this next May. So that's my plan. I'm not putting any pressure on myself to try to knit a summer weight top in August because I'm on my fall knits. I'm done. I'm excited about it. I like knitting fall knits. I'm very excited about making something beautiful in this yarn. It is exactly the color that I would want to make a beautiful summer tee in. Oh, it feels good too. It's not too stiff or sticky. It's nice. So I'm very excited about that. And that was my surprise acquisition, if you will. And then we talked about the magpie plume. And these are my options. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna go tactical. I think it's also very different for me. And I think it's really nice. I think that looks kind of nice and moody and autumnal. Like it. And then these will become very, very swanky. That's their word, right? Magpie's word is swanky. These will be very swanky hat details for some gift knits this winter. Oh, and then the Nutiden. Yes, I got Hellas Vog, I think it's called, something Vog. I'm so sorry I didn't write it down. I will absolutely put it in the notes. I'm so in love with this color. They did make quite a bit of it. It is going to be a more consistent color, so if this is something that you are interested in, can be available. It is a very beautifully cold brown or warm gray, and I cannot wait to make something in this winter. I think I will be making the Fields of Gold sweater, and I'm really excited about it. So that's my Nutiden Poiches. Very stoked for that. And with that, I think I better shut this puppy down because it's been really long, and if you've made it this far, thank you for sticking around with the ramblings of Friday night. It's pretty fun. That is so weird how that changes the light levels when I just bring a water glass up. Okay, now I'm seriously rambling. Thank you all so much. This has been a true delight. If anybody knows how to connect a microphone, external microphone, please let me know. Otherwise, I'm still just rocking these AirPods. Like and subscribe if you would like to like and subscribe, and comment below with the hashtag inspired by Ellen Cal, and get yourself Nutiden, or get yourself in the running to get some Nutiden, and just keep putting yourself out into the world one stitch at a time. It's so much better having you here. Thank you all, and feel free to get in touch. Looking forward to seeing you next time. Bye.